Hi, Emma.
Hi.
Hi. How did the pilot Ofsted inspection make you feel? Did it feel any easier than any past inspections?
Really, no, I don't think it did. It was just as intense as any inspection I've ever had. I don't know whether it's me, and because I've never got outstanding, I've always strived to get outstanding, I've never done it, and I don't know whether it's more me than the system, that I put too much pressure on myself. It was a pilot, it was never going to change anything for me. I was told from the start that I wouldn't get a change of grade or even a report through, but I still wanted to show myself in the best light and tell them everything I would on a normal Ofsted inspection. So I don't think it was any easier. It was just as hard.
Yeah. Did you feel like the categories of judgment were any better than before?
No.
No.
I don't want to seem negative about it. It might be because it's all so new, and I think that the more people do the Ofsted inspections through the new Toolkit, the more it will become second nature for people. But at the moment, I'm not even fully sure I understand it because there's even more categories than before. Mm-hmm. I understand the judgment, but you still have to understand the categories to even get there, because you have to fulfil all of the Met, and it's so different to before. That I don't think it's any more straightforward for us. But in Ofsted's defence, I did watch the webinar that Ofsted did in advance to explain all the key changes, and that was actually really good and really beneficial for me to fully understand the process and why they've done certain things, because it's not just about the childcare provider. In actual fact, why do we get inspected? And it's for the children to make sure that they're having the best start in life. And the parents like to read things too. So I think some of the things have to still be a part of the process for the parents. But for me, as a childcare provider, I didn't feel it was any better.
No. So you didn't, okay. Did the inspection flow any differently?
I mean, I have written up all my answers. And in the write-up of the answers, I said it flowed exactly the same as any other Ofsted inspection I've ever done. I checked their ID, they came in, I settled the children, made them a cup of tea, their laptop opened, and the flow seemed the same for me because I still did my playing with children, trying to show all of the areas of learning that I was covering and how I was bringing out all the characteristics of effective learning. And it still felt very similar. But during the inspection, rather than it just being the typing and their opinion, there were more breaks quite regularly where the inspector said, how did you feel that went? So they were actually taking our opinion more on board. An example was we were reading a book about colour monsters, and I only had 2 children on the day of the inspection. One child was really, really shy when the inspector first got to me. She's quite shy anyway, but she was just looking away, and every time she wanted to talk, she looked towards the inspectors, and I was using all of my strategies to try and bring her out of her shell so that Ofsted could really see how far she has come with her confidence. And then I had another child that wasn't as shy and was doing all the talking. The child that wasn't as shy, she got a little bit distracted whilst we were reading the Colour Monster book. So after the whole reading thing where one child was really engaged, it was actually bringing her out of her shell. And after that reading activity, she started to talk and engage with the Ofsted inspectors, and she was far more like herself. So I made the right decision in the moment. And the other child was not as engaged in the story, but they occupied themselves, all absolutely fine. And then afterwards, when the inspector said, how did you feel it went? Then I could honestly say to her, I was aware that one child was not as engaged as the other, but I'm doing it for X, Y, and Z reason. And they took that on board, they listened. And in previous inspections, it would have been a criticism. From my experience, I've been criticised for similar before because these professional conversations were not considered. This time it really was.
That's brilliant.
So it flowed slightly different because quite regularly it was reflection and then looking actually at the toolkit to see where things fit, and the inspector almost helping you by saying, but do you think you're reaching these beyond, what's the actual term?
So there's
You know.
standard. Both myself and Emma are new to this, and we actually couldn't remember the names. We are talking about the gradings of expected standard and strong standard.
So she was reading out the good standard. She was saying, I could see all the standard here.
Yeah.
And she was trying to encourage me to show her more. So it was encouraging.
Okay, well that's good.
So it flowed slightly different as far as that was concerned, but I still felt it was still a lot of managing the children / doggies and answering questions in between and trying to keep your focus, which isn't easy.
So difficult. Yeah. Overall, did it feel like an improvement compared to previous inspections?
At the time, I didn't think so, because I found it really intense.
Yeah.
Really intense. That night, I could barely string a sentence together. In retrospect, I think if I ever have Ofsted inspection again, I think I'm going to have to close when they leave.
To give yourself. Because I think it is quite traumatic.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so draining. I just wanted to sit in a dark room for at least half hour and not speak to anyone.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that opportunity because I was straight onto the school run to collect the school children. Then I had to view a school that evening for my son going to senior school. Real life continues, and I was done.
Yeah. Yeah. So did they also do the phone call and email first to chat to you, or did they just turn up? Can you talk us through the process of how the pilot came about?
Yes. So the pilot came about. So I've been childminding for 11 years now, and I had the registration inspection. I've had 2 graded inspections. I've had 1 visit from Ofsted as a result of a safeguarding question, which was all resolved. So this was kind of my 5th inspection, kind of. So with all of that in the past, I've never had a great experience with Ofsted. And the most recent inspection, I actually finally had the confidence to complain about it. Prior to that, I just thought it was me, and I thought it was my lack of confidence or understanding. But last year, when I had my inspection, it just was not good enough. And it made me really ill. It gave me horrible migraines. These migraines ended up being hemiplegic migraines, where I was losing the feeling down the side of my body. I had to have a brain scan because they actually thought I'd had a stroke on one occasion. I mean, I can't say it was 100% Ofsted, but it's a bit of a coincidence. It happened after the horrific Ofsted experience and whilst the complaint was ongoing. So it's just, and it got me really, I was so demotivated. I just didn't want to do it anymore, because what is the point when the inspection report didn't even reflect anything I did in the setting, and it wasn't being changed. I had to go up numerous levels in the complaint system, and it felt like they'd closed ranks on me. Yeah. So I was so annoyed by it, and I thought, and I said last time, I'm never having another Ofsted inspection. I'm going to resign before I have another one. And then this year, I've been on LinkedIn a little bit more, and I've seen Ofsted posting more and more stuff. All of my stuff was included in the big listen last year, because I requested that it was. So I started contacting Sir Martin Oliver on LinkedIn and asking him,
don't you start,
if we could have more conversations about this, because I still feel like more changes need to be made. Yeah. As a result of that, he was really good. He was replying even on Saturday night to me in person. It was him. He was signing out with his first name. So I was a bit intrigued, and then we went to the Childcare Expo, and we both got chatting to Ofsted inspectors, and they were both really lovely, and they really listened. And I said, I've made a vow that I'm not going to be inspected again, but I think what you've done with the system is great. And hopefully it works. It has to be better than it was for me, because it was so horrendous. And they said, it is, and we want to prove it to you. Would you host a pilot? So that's how it all came about.
So then what happened? Tell me about the process of it.
So at the time, they just told me to put the details in on an iPad. Mm-hmm. And then I got a phone call, was it about a week later? I can't remember. About a week after the expo, I got a phone call from somebody thanking me for volunteering to do the pilot, and was I still willing to do it? And I said yes. And they said great. And they gave me a date when they would be doing the pilot, which is the Tuesday that's just gone, the 14th of October. So I had about 2 weeks notice. Now in reality that won't be the case. They've explained that to me, but this is just because it's unique, the pilot. They've told me that 5 days before your inspection, you get a phone call, roughly 5 days. And they say, we're going to be inspecting you within this time period. And they talk to you about what day is convenient to inspect, and they tell you a day apparently. This is what I've been reassured. And that's what they did with me. They told me the exact day that they would be inspecting me, but it suited me and my lifestyle too. So that was good. That's with the children. So the day before the inspection, they asked me for what was a mutually convenient time to do a planning call. And I actually got another phone call after that one to check whether I wanted it on video or just audio, and just to double check the time. And I said 1 p.m. at that time because the children I had in my care were sleeping. So I thought that would work out fine. It worked fine, but it was touch and go because the kids decided to drop their nap that weekend. So it was nothing goes straight to plan, but that was okay. So I had the phone call, but during the conversation, it was a video call, I was under the impression, I don't know whether you felt the same, but I was under the impression that they would ask more questions during that planning call because, what was the name of the lady that did the speech, the one with the Welsh accent? Is it Mary? I can't remember. But she was saying, I've recently done a pilot and it was great because all the questions were done in advance and then I could just watch the practitioners playing with the children.
I think my understanding was it was still going to be the questions that they normally ask on the phone, but not when they ring you. So when I had a phone call from Ofsted to say that they were going to come out, I was in the middle of putting a child to bed. Trying to put him to bed, and my phone, one child I'd just put to bed, the other child was having a poo, and my watch said Ofsted. And I answered and was wiping a bum as I was answering the phone, talking to Ofsted like this on the phone. And she said, I can hear that there's a little person. I was like, yeah, he's just going to bed. Well, that's fine. But I was still expected to carry on that phone call. So because they'd rung me, it's Ofsted, you can't ring them back. I was like, let me just put him in bed. And I still had a child that was up, but that was quite content to play with some set up toys that I'd already set up. But I was literally in the middle of wiping a bum, and then I had to put a child to bed, and then I came downstairs and continued this phone call, and the other child that was up also pooed. So I was doing another bum then, and it was like, this is where it's really difficult as a childminder, whereas if I'd been able to plan it, a phone call, it would have been much better to be able to go through my numbers of when, who's going to be, how many children I've got on the books, what my different days are, what my age ranges are, all of that, whilst I had my phone to my ear and I was cleaning children, was really impractical. That's more of my understanding. And I think that's more of what you experienced.
Yes, it is.
In that it was a scheduled phone call. And in all fairness, they did ring me at that time, but it happened to be on a day that I had a child that didn't sleep and another child that needed the toilet. And that's how it went for me. I'm just holding the dog. She's being good. She's fine. But yeah, so I think that's what the planning call is going to be more of.
Yeah, because I said to them when they did the inspection, it was a question that somebody had raised with me before I had it. What happens if you don't have any sleeping children? Can Ofsted do that call after hours? And I asked them and they said no. It has to be within working hours, because quite often they do the planning call. So they'll maybe even do an inspection that morning. Then they do a planning call for the next day or something along those lines. And because of the nature of how Ofsted work, they generally start about 9 in the morning. They're not going to split their day and then start making calls at 6. They did say that they want to be more flexible. Yeah. And they did say it could just be a voice call. Yeah. And if you've got the children with you that are either like reading books or quietly or just doing calmer play, if you deal with them, they've got to give you the more time to do that. So. Yeah.
Okay, you've got lots of questions. Let's carry on. Was it just one inspector? And was it the first inspection she'd done?
No, it wasn't just one inspector. Though I only had one inspector doing the pilot inspecting me, she also had somebody that they explained from the start was observing her.
Right, okay. So there's two of them.
Two of them.
Was it the first inspection she'd done?
I don't know. I didn't ask her. But she was very grateful and she commented a few times, oh, it's interesting to view this in a childminding setting. So it made me feel like it was her first.
Yeah.
Not her first inspection, goodness me. She was so experienced, but her first run of the pilot.
Yeah. Did you feel that it was a real inspection?
Yeah.
It felt real.
Completely real.
Did you feel that if you slipped up, that they could strike you off?
Right, so the term slipped up, strike me off. Ultimately, I was told on the planning call that they had to follow a code of conduct, and they asked me to read through it. And if I breached any safeguarding, they'd still have to act on it because they have a duty of care, which is understandable. So that would be the only slip up I could imagine. Yeah. But that's a risk you've always got to take if you're going to open up your home to Ofsted inspectors, I suppose.
Did they look at any of your paperwork?
No, not really. They asked on the planning call just to see my paediatric first aid certificate.
Yeah.
Usually they ask for safeguarding, so I don't know why they didn't ask for that.
Okay, so
they didn't ask to see that.
Okay.
And then they also asked during the planning call about the children I'd have present, and they asked if the parents would get the chance to write testimonials. Mm-hmm. And they actually read the testimonial from the parent of the child that was shy.
Yeah.
And complimented because obviously she's come a long way, and it was also observed by parents. Yeah. That was it, no other paperwork. And I had half of this table laid out, and the way that I like presenting things, you could see the headers of each of them with the navy blue background writing, and they were not interested. Even when I handed them things, they didn't want to read it.
Did they look at any of your 2-year checks, anything like that? Any of the mandatory paperwork we have to have, like registers, 2-year checks?
Yeah, so they didn't look at the register at all, didn't even ask me about a register. 2-year check, I offered to show them. Yeah. Because they also did say about 2-year check, they mentioned it midway through, and they said, oh, all of these children are 2. Have you done all their 2-year checks? Yeah. And funny, I actually hadn't done one of the children's 2-year checks because it was a decision that I'd made because they'd just turned 2 and they went on holiday. And usually when the children go on holiday, especially because they were on the cusp of potty training, I wanted to make sure it truly reflected everything in the 2-year check. I had up to 27 months and it was before that. They were happy with that. Yeah. So I pulled out the other 2-year checks to offer them, and they didn't want to look through, and that was fine. If I offered them a document sometimes, rather than them, they say, can you summarise it for me or tell me how it affects your work? So they wanted everything from me, nothing on paper.
Okay. Did they do a learning walk?
No. And they told me they don't want a learning walk. Okay. I found over the years that I'm becoming less and less interested in doing this training that's like front loaded and information. And I'm better at finding out something, going away and doing my own research. And I explained that to them. So I would never have even had certificates for any of those things. But what I did is I explained what I've researched myself and how I've progressed myself and implemented it. And they were really happy with that, actually.
Wow. Did they ask anything about ratios?
No.
How long were they there?
Hours, about 4 hours. But I do think it's longer because it was brand new to them. Yeah. And they wanted to make sure they were thorough and practiced in everything. So it'd probably be shorter in reality.
Did they sit on their laptops the whole time typing stuff out, or was it more of a chit chat?
So the laptop was open all the time. It was a chit chat. She actually found out quite a lot about me, reflecting. But the laptop was still there in front, so she was literally sat here and then I was down there with the children and the toys. Each time she referred to the toolkit, it was either on the laptop if I was behind her, or it was like a paper copy, and she would say either come and have a look here if I was stood near her, or she would get up with the toolkit and sit with me on the floor with the kids and say, this is where you are, this is where. And I mean, sometimes even that didn't work, but it showed that she was trying.
Did the inspector give any further insight or feedback during or after the visit? What was the discussion like?
So the discussion, just like I've explained previously, it was more collaborative. It was more listening, asking me questions, but not direct questions. It was almost like, can you explain a time when you've done this? and it was a bit more collaborative. And they were more even inclined to give you, not clues, but like almost like pointers. I was like, can you give me an example of this? Because I'm not that used to the toolkit. And they did, they gave me pointers. Have you ever encountered this, etc. So yeah, I thought it was.
How do you feel overall after doing it?
So I feel better than I did on previous inspections.
Okay, that's a bonus.
If you asked me on the day, I would say exactly the same. Oh my goodness, I can't ever go through this again. I'm so exhausted. Even on the Wednesday, I could hardly string a sentence together, could I?
Yeah, you were shattered.
But I do get quite overwhelmed by things. I put everything into it on the day and I was drained. But I bounce back quicker. I'm motivated again now to carry on. I do feel that the report, if I'd actually got a report, I feel like it really would have accurately covered the whole setting, everything about the setting, the ethos and everything, because they seem to really understand it. So I do feel a lot better. So yeah, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. We've done all the questions, Emma.
The reason why I did it is because of Nurture Co. This is why we both do it, isn't it, in reality?
Yeah. The hope is to help bridge the gap between the authority figures and those who are alone, because it's scary being alone and it's quite overwhelming, especially if you're inexperienced in it. I mean, I'm a new childminder. I've officially been registered a year, but I only opened in January. Got loads of experience as a nanny and working in nurseries and all that, but the jump to be a self-employed childminder has only been this year, and it's so I want to say isolating. I don't know if isolating is the right word. It is. It's just very alone. Not necessarily isolating in that alone, but you're very alone in it, you're very vulnerable.
Yeah. You never feel more alone than when you either get a complaint or a child like really hurts themselves, no fault of anybody, and suddenly you just need another pair of hands and eyes there.
You're a one-man band, you do everything, and the pressure that brings, and not having a staff room, not having a manager, not having someone to be able to speak to about it is one of the hardest things. And that's why we created Nurture Co.
Yeah, because now we can say, oh, this is happening, you know, within, we have to be confidential to a degree, but I've got this child that does this, and we've now got somebody to talk to about it, as opposed to, because prior to Nurture Co, I did feel quite alone. But yeah, I feel like we're there for each other, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's building up that support network for everybody who's in the same position.
Yeah.
Holding hands a little bit and helping, and it not being cutthroat, you know, asking these questions, having a safe space to do all of that. So yeah, that's why you put yourself through it. Thanks.